Welcome to The Kid is in School, where we talk about whatever we want since our kid is not here to interrupt us. But we don't have a lot of time before the bell rings, so let's get right into it. I have to get something off my chest. Easter egg hunts are not that fun.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And by the way, I just thought there was going to be some deep revelatory thought. You're like, I have to get something off my chest. And
This feels
Easter
deep.
egg hunts.
This feels deep because, I know, but it feels deep because everybody seems to love them. They're always in movies. It always seems to be a part of people's Easter tradition. And kids like them. But even as a kid, I would look forward to it. I like to decorate the eggs. And I like the beginning of the searching for them. But then towards the middle and the end, it's like, now what? You know, there's no real prize for finding eggs. Then you just got to eat a bunch of hard-boiled eggs. At least in my house, you did.
Yeah, well, it also probably depends on how your particular family deals with what an Easter egg hunt is. Because there's actual boiled eggs that have been colored and then hidden.
Right, in the yard.
Right, in the yard somewhere or the park. Then there's the ones that are the plastic eggs that have candy or little toys put in them and then hidden either in the house, the yard, or something like that similarly, but it's not an actual egg.
Right, but the more you find, in theory, the more you can enjoy it. But, you know, when it came to the types of candy, you're buying it in bulk, so every single plastic egg has the same piece of candy, which is not exciting to me.
Well, see, I don't know that that's necessarily true, because based on my childhood, is we had the plastic. You buy a bunch of empty plastic eggs. You didn't buy them with the candy or the toys already in them. You just went to the dollar store and then you would fill them up. So it wouldn't necessarily have all the same. So your
family would fill them up with a variety of different treats?
Yeah, like,
That's nice.
you might have M&Ms in one. You might have, a few Smarties in. Yeah, I guess you have to open the Smartie pack and put some.
No, I like that. I like that your family included variety. I mean, I do have a memory of different colored jelly beans being in each one, but it was still jelly beans every time.
Yeah, jelly beans are a big one. That's about the only time in childhood that I think I had jelly beans would be at Easter time. Now,
same.
I don't know how your family dealt with Easter in general, with the candy and the Easter baskets, because my neighbors, I remember growing up, and this is neighbors where one 4th of July, I had to go to bed before it was even dark out, and I saw them playing in the yard, doing fireworks. And so
your hands and face pressed against the glass.
Pretty much, yes. And these neighbors were grandparents. And so their grandchildren were always coming over. The grandchildren were my age, and they were the ones playing at the fireworks. But every Easter, they gave them these extravagant baskets. So
wow. And out in the open, in the public, where you could just watch it?
No, not necessarily. It wasn't like me pressed up against the glass on
watching them open baskets.
Every holiday was just me pressed against the glass, wishing I was part of that family. No, but I would play with those kids in the afternoon.
Right, and you would see what they got.
And they would show. And so I remember one year they got these Mask toys. And Mask was, I don't remember what the acronym is, but it was a toy series. Almost like Polly Pocket before that. Where they
were
miniature, but they had
astronauts.
They had little people.
M-A-S-K.
Yeah, what was that? Anyway.
Skiing. I don't have a K. Kings.
I know, I could look it up.
Sure.
And they had a bunch of them. So they got a bunch of these toys. And
wow, it's like Christmas light.
Yes, it was.
It's like a junior Christmas.
It really was. Like they treated Easter as if it was another type of Christmas. So their Easter baskets were full of toys and candy, and I think I got maybe a couple Easter baskets growing up, but they weren't that extravagant. I remember I got. Probably the same year, I got like a little Hot Wheels that had Gargamel from Smurfs in it.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. And it was fine.
Was it a tiny Gargamel or was it an oversized Gargamel that sat out the top of this car?
He sat out the top of the car.
Like he's in a Power Wheels.
Yes, exactly. It was exactly what that looked like.
That's funny.
And so the boy next door had those things, so I had to bring out like, oh, I've got Smurf Hot Wheels, and it's kind of like, oh, okay. Those are cool too, I guess. When somebody would say that, did you have that when you grew up? Like, oh yeah, that's cool too. When they're trying to,
sure.
So you don't
they don't want
bad.
You to feel bad. I just am thinking about how you feel like you have to compare. You have a really cool basket. Let me show you what I got.
Yeah.
Oh, think it's a kid thing to do, but it's just sweet.
It's kind of, I guess the candy equivalent is if somebody got a basket full of Reese's cups and full-size Snicker bars, and you go, hey, I also got some black licorice.
Yeah. I got this really cool licorice.
Yeah, so that's...
You want to chomp on it for a while with me?
Yes, and that's how I grew up with the Easter baskets. I don't even think I got them every year.
That's crazy.
And they varied in size. Some years they were a little more extravagant, where I got the Smurfs Hot Wheels, and sometimes I think I got maybe a stuffed animal, but most of the time I think it was just candy in a basket.
This is reminding me of A Christmas Carol, where it's like, one year we had a goose, this year we've got beans.
Beans that we slice in little pieces.
Well,
by the way,
yes.
let's get mask out there. I looked it up.
Oh, okay. I wonder what you were looking up this whole time.
Mobile Armored Strike Command, and command's with a K.
Oh, darn. I didn't get any of those. Mobile Armored Strike Command. If you told me they looked like Army guys, then maybe I could have made a better guess than miniature astronaut ski kings. But
yours is better.
So we got an Easter basket every year from my mom, and it always had grass in the bottom, colorful grass. It was typically the same basket year over year because they were plastic, so my mom wasn't going to throw it away. And they were colorful and beautiful, and we always knew they'd come in the morning. So just like with Christmas, you come down the stairs and you see, oh, now there's presents on the table. They would be on the glass table and our little coffee table in the middle of the living room. And it had inevitably jelly beans, which you always ate last. Like they would just fall into the grass. And if you were really jonesing for sugar, you would dig through the grass and hope for a jelly bean. But these are the giant kind, that taste like actual corn syrup.
Yes.
There's not much dimension to
I
these.
had some of those too. That reminds me, there's also these, there's those malt balls.
Yes.
But then they had some in the shape of eggs.
They did, yeah, exactly. The speckled egg malt balls. But we also had, later in life, Jelly Bellies, which were fascinating to me because it's like, oh, you could make them taste like popcorn.
The popcorn was huge.
The popcorn
jelly bean was huge.
It was mind-blowing. It was like a science experiment. And then we had a chocolate bunny, for sure, which I was never crazy about, but I liked to see it there.
Solid or hollow?
Oh, always hollow. Always hollow.
I kind of like the hollow bunnies.
And sometimes I think I expected it to be hollow. And then sometimes I had a little colorful eye. Sometimes it's just a brown eye. Uh-oh. Can we say that on this panel? And sometimes it's a eye white with a little dab of blue, and it's like cross-eyed. Okay, so but my favorite was the Cadbury cream egg, and just because it was just more elaborate. It wasn't hollow like all the other chocolate I was getting, and it had cream inside that also had the white cream is white, and also the yellow is yellow.
The yellow is yellow. It's very elaborate. People.
Well, our daughter asked me, why do they call it egg white but not egg yellow? And I'm like, I don't know. The yolk was yellow.
It starts with a Y.
What'd you say?
It starts with a Y.
Yeah.
So, yolk, yellow.
Yolk and yellow do. So that was just cool to look at. Did I love the flavor? No. And did I ever finish a whole one? Not for years. It took me a while. I ever
finished one. And this is something I actually posed on Twitter a few weeks ago. Was basically saying, does anybody remember when Cadbury cream eggs were the actual size of an egg?
They always seemed to be size of an egg.
They were.
And now they're not?
They're not anymore. They are smaller. They're more like
a robin's egg.
Robin's egg. They really are. They've miniaturized them almost. And
that explains why I couldn't finish one. If they were really that huge.
Yeah, they were the size of a full egg. And I guess there's always the possibility that my hands have gotten bigger over the years. But I'm not 8 years old anymore. But they were like the size of an egg. And maybe 5 years ago or something like that, I noticed that they were starting to shrink them out.
Yeah, interesting. I would love to see a comparison. There's some weirdo on eBay that's got candy from the 80s that they haven't ever opened.
Oh, there definitely is.
Sorry, sir. You're not a weirdo. You're a special person.
Eccentric.
You're eccentric. But,
and that yolk has to be dry in there because, like, even when I had one of those and you kept it a little too long, you'd open them and it wasn't creamy inside anymore. It was, it was firmer.
You're right. It starts to turn into like a nougaty type of nougaty. You know what that reminds me of? This is a tangent, but I saw on Instagram and I shared it recently on my stories. Someone who said this is what being sick in the 80s was like, and they played Price is Right music, and then they showed pouring Campbell's soup into a pot and then pouring that into some Smurf bowl on a tray. So what they essentially did was save all these items from the 80s, except for the actual soup, which looks the same today. And then they added saltines and they put that on a serving tray. And then they put it in front of an old-fashioned television, and then they turned on The Price is Right, and it had, they probably used a superimposed image, but it was like an old episode featuring the earlier Bob Barker Beauties. It was so funny to me, but I was like, the work that went into this, it's not even a production, it's just some influencer who's like, this is my quirky thing. I collect stuff from the 80s and then I recreate it for you.
So they need to do Easter now and have like the original Cadbury cream egg.
I want to see that. I'm going to DM that person and see if they've got an old cream egg lying around there.
Well, it's things with candies, they've started doing the Reese's egg at some point.
Yeah.
And there was a version of that, I'm pretty sure, that was more like a Cadbury cream egg.
You mean certain, like spherically round or
yes,
round, 3D,
yes.
Not just the flat bottom.
Correct.
I don't know.
Then there's the one that's just the flat, where it's honestly, it doesn't look that much different than a Reese's cup. It's just they've made it a little more mushy looking.
Same with the Reese's pumpkin. I'm never a fan of either of those. They don't hold the shape right. The cups have the ridges. The ridges are important.
Yeah.
Are you a texture person? The ridges matter.
The ridges are. I always feel like the chocolate's a little firmer on the cup than it is on the eggs and the pumpkins.
Exactly. And for some reason, that skeeves me out. No, it just bothers me a little bit. Only slightly. Not enough to stop eating it. I still eat it.
Eat it? Well, yeah. It's still sugar. And they've done I'm pretty sure that they have done other eggs too. So like they're not spherical. They're oblong.
Eggical. Oh, oblong. Thank you. There's a real word for that.
Yeah, eggical.
Eggical.
Which like Snickers and different other candy bars.
That
like
sounds familiar. I remember a fully round Snickers egg. I don't remember the Reese's egg you're talking about,
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean it never existed.
Every time you say fully round, that's ball. That's like a ball shape.
You're picturing a ball.
And they have those at like Christmas time.
Egg shaped is the shape. True egg, not your two-dimensional egg that Reese's turned it into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to save candy actually for later, but I want to just go through the rest of the ones I remember. We would have egg-shaped gum and plastic cartons. Did you ever get that?
Egg-shaped gum and plastic. Yeah, well, I guess I remember those little cartons, but I don't. That one's, I must have either only seen at the store or
You're so right about malted milk balls they try to sneak them past us as eggs. Like, we don't want them on Halloween. We don't want them on Easter. Get them out of here.
Yeah, and did you call them mothballs?
No, but I'm sure as a kid I confused mothballs and
we definitely call them mothballs. And I think my parents were always like, it's malt balls. And I'm like, I don't hear a difference.
I can't.
I don't taste a difference either.
I don't taste a difference. I would suck on them. Can I say that? I would like, let the chocolate melt away and then let the malt ball part melt away. And it's not a bad candy. It just didn't have oomph as a kid.
I'm not big into certain textures. And so when you bite into a malt ball,
you're not supposed to bite it. You're supposed to, I think you have to let it dissolve.
Maybe you are supposed to let it dissolve, but there's always a weird crunch, like biting into styrofoam.
I know that's why you don't like marshmallows and Count Chocula.
Oh, it's the same kind of crunch that just gives me shivers up my spine.
Can you imagine a kid that wants to pick out the marshmallows and Lucky Charms? Shame on you.
I was a weird kid, I guess.
No, if you don't like that texture, you don't like that texture. I get that. It must be why I learned how to just melt them down before I could enjoy them. But the other, I think, last candy that I remember, and this is the throwback, is a raspberry jelly. So it's kind of like a gumdrop, but then it's surrounded by small red and sometimes black sprinkles. So it resembles a real raspberry, I guess.
I don't know that one.
I'll show them to you.
I was an overweight kid, but I don't recognize that one.
I'm calling baloney on your being an overweight kid.
Somebody had started to eat a red jelly bean and then it fell down in between the couch cushions and you pulled it out and it had sprinkles in quotation marks.
Remember those candies that had fuzz on them and a penny stuck to it? And old popcorn kernels. I hated that candy. So anyway, I guess if you don't remember the raspberry, that's okay. I almost bought it just so our daughter could try it because I saw it at one of our discount stores
you saw
locally.
it, so it does
They
exist.
don't, but they taste so bad. I thought this is just gonna get wasted in the house. Everybody's gonna try it once as a goof and go, "These are horrible," and I'm gonna throw it all away.
I have no interest in trying things that were bad before again. Like, let me see if it's still bad.
You don't like trying things as a goof anyway. You know, one thing I refuse to try, the candy that is supposed to be designed to smell or taste like earwax and boogers. Do you remember that?
I don't know that one, and that
I don't understand that at all.
it really sounds like some of this was just a prank from your older sister. It doesn't sound like actual candy.
No, I've definitely seen it.
Eat this booger. It tastes just like a booger.
My sister's prank was sitting on my face with a pillow on top
And murdering
till I
you.
tap out. I blame professional wrestling.
They don't do that in professional wrestling, though. They don't murder each other with pillows. That's more like your...
So says you. It always.
your
I'm
murder,
always.
she wrote.
I know that you know that it is. I guess we won't want to use the term choreographed, but it is highly rehearsed. Is that worse or better to say about wrestling?
Either one's probably fine to say about
Much
professional
preparation goes into doing these
wrestling. Don't call it
moves.
fake. You can call it those other things.
Okay, I'm not calling it fake. But I know that a lot of preparation goes into doing wrestling moves, and yet I, as an audience member, cringe each time. I'm like, yeah, that's gotta hurt.
Well, it does hurt.
It's
That's why.
painful. Oh, it makes me cringe, especially the slams. So anyway, you tell me that whatever you just said, I'm disagreeing with it. I forget what you just said. No, they don't try to murder each other. I feel like I'm watching a murder
Okay.
match every time.
Oh, by the way, that sums up marriage. I don't know what you just said, but I disagree with it.
And you think about that, sir. Easter egg hunts disappoint me the way bowling disappoints me. I get so excited to do it. I wait the whole year. I probably go once a year. And then I'm in midway through it and I'm like, okay, this has lost its luster. My bowling score, I think it never gets above like a 58.
That doesn't sound right, because I know you got turkeys.
Oh, yes. I've
last
had a
time we
really
played.
lucky bowling day. That was, you know when that was? Did I have a kid by then? I feel like after motherhood, I became a superhero. And it, just for that, like the infancy rearing stage. And so I had like really strong arms and I was really just, bowling nice strikes.
You didn't even roll it. You just threw it at the pins.
Yeah. I told it where to go.
Yeah.
I was like, go to your room. And it went straight there.
Yeah, bowling is one of those activities. I feel like maybe like roller skating or different things, going to the roller rink, where it's nostalgic in the sense of like, oh, we did that once or twice at a birthday party when we were kids.
Right.
And so, oh, we'll try it again. And I get bored probably halfway through bowling. Mm-hmm.
But is it because your score is going down?
No, it's not. It's just, it's kind of a repetitive activity.
Oh,
so you're
okay.
just doing the same thing, but also you have to wait for everybody in your party to go first. And then so if you have 8 people playing, it's like, okay, I now have to wait 12 minutes while they bowl.
Yeah.
And then I get to throw twice, and then I got to sit for 12 minutes. It's like,
You're right. It's very short-lived. You only get 2 chances, and they're usually disappointing if you're not like a bowling expert.
yeah.
You know?
And I'm assuming, because I can't imagine being an adult, which I am, in a bowling league, because people have bowling leagues, and I
Yeah.
imagine those are just they drink a beer or something like that and have nachos in between. It's all about
that.
that.
Sounds so great.
And
well, I think it's more competitive. I think they're just like hitting them hard and doom, 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 strike, 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 and everybody takes their turn. That's how I'm picturing it. But I also think you leave with really sore arms. I would just leave with spaghetti noodle arms at the end of a party. And that's with waiting in between everybody.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Maybe I picked a ball that was just too heavy for me, and
Well,
I
you
wouldn't
never
let it
know.
go.
Like it's just whatever random balls they have put out for people to use.
You ought to pick a ball on weight and finger size, not on the beautiful marble texture and color.
I guess so. I would just find one that my fingers fit in, because there's some that like they're way too big,
Yeah.
or they're way too small and I can't get them in. So I try to like just have the tips of my fingers holding on to.
Yeah, it's rare that the
ridges.
fingers fit in. It feels weird when they do fit in because they feel greasy when they come out, you know? I remember a tweet by someone recently that was like, I'll never understand why people wanted to pair bowling with finger foods.
Yeah.
Like bowling alleys always serve you fries and chicken fingers and you're like, do you know what I'm touching all this time?
You have to wear somebody's, that whatever
Someone else's shoes.
shoes. But They spray them, I
crazy.
guess, but I don't know what they're even spraying them with. It's not like an antifungal, I don't think.
Right,
It's
you're just
some
touching.
Lysol.
Why didn't that go away after the pandemic? I wonder. Like wearing someone else's shoes and touching someone else's balls. I guess. Can I say that here?
You keep saying that this episode.
It's now a running gag, if you will. Yeah. So I've been bowling many times in my life. Not just twice for kids' parties, but it'd be for birthday parties, for work. I've done it as like a happy hour event, like a team building event. I've done it, I think, at night with classmates as some kind of school.
Like when you were in college or something?
No, I think it's high school. It was either
yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was high school. It was like Spirit Week. Here's a fun thing we can do: bowling at night. So yeah, or maybe prom. It's some kind of way to celebrate something. So
that was your problem. You went bowling and didn't go dancing.
That's what we do in Indiana.
I don't remember doing bowling that much. Like I know church groups, like youth groups, went bowling when I was a kid. There was friends in high school. We probably went bowling once. We were like, you know what we should do? We should go bowling. We did and go, oh, okay, yeah, this is not very fun.
Well, one of your birthday parties was bowling as an
Mine?
adult. I didn't know you didn't. If I knew you were this meh about it, I don't think I would have planned it. But we did go bowling. I had a great time. That was the time I bowled a turkey, which is 3 strikes in a row.
Is that my birthday?
That was your birthday.
Yeah.
And I told our daughter about that, and she was like, let's go bowling for your birthday. So I have to figure out where to go. She just can't wait to try it.
Yeah, which I don't mind going and doing it, but it isn't something that I think is going to really light me up.
Okay. I remember at her age when I was bowling, I would bowl straight gutters. And they would say, let's put it the bumpers and give you a little smaller ball. And I was like, no, I want to do it the way it's supposed to be done.
I want to do it the way it's supposed to be done.
And I bet she'll be the same way.
Get 0.
And get 0 points and cry about it and get angry at everybody.
Yeah.
That was a spoiled
I'm
sport.
going to ruin the entire day for everyone.
Now, you mentioned that you went to church and you had your Easter thing, and I'm guessing since it was less focused on the baskets, it was more focused on the religious aspect.
Yes, and I think because my dad was a preacher, that was the strong element with Easter, is that we need to make sure that we're focusing on what Easter is supposed to be about, or not what's supposed to be, what it is about, which is the death and resurrection of Jesus. And
how the bunny and the baskets and the candy got in there, I'll never know.
Easter, when I was growing up, Easter was my least favorite holiday out of all of them because I didn't like the pastels. I didn't like the bunnies. I didn't care for eggs that much. I don't want to eat these hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
And so I colored eggs with my mom every year, and that was fun. But the Easter egg hunt, I grew up basically like an only child just because my siblings were so much older than me. So it's just an Easter egg hunt with me by myself in my living room.
We did it indoors one year too. That was fun. One of the harder ones to find, my mom put it like on an upper door hinge. And it was just like hiding in plain sight. We never looked until the very end. She found it for us.
That was there for 13 years.
The door had to be open for it to work, but... I think I'm mixing it with an America's Funniest Home Videos where it was a raw egg, but ours was not raw. We never had any raw eggs hidden in the house.
I like that your memories are just mixed in with America's Funniest Home Videos. Like, did I do that, or was it some other child?
Did I fly out of a window to Never Never Land, or was that the movie Hook? I can never remember.
Yeah, and so because of that, that focus with my family was we're going to focus on Jesus portion, and then all of the surrounding stuff I didn't find very fun. The bunny stuff, like it wasn't like Christmas. All the surrounding stuff about Christmas is a lot more fun. There's presents, real presents.
Not hard-boiled eggs as presents.
And I didn't have to look through the window and watch somebody else getting a present. and then Halloween, you get to dress up. You get to do make-believe. 4th of July, you got cookouts and parties and fireworks shows. Or in my case, again, looking out the window at somebody else doing it.
You know what you're leaving out, though? In Easter, you have to dress up, right? We had to dress up.
Oh, we did. We had to dress. Well, yeah, you're supposed to dress up fancy. I don't think people do that at churches much
I don't
anymore.
see it much, and we certainly don't do it now. We just live in jeans these days. But I used to have to wear tights pretty much every church. Like if I ever went to church, and it wasn't weekly, but if I ever went, it was like you got to wear a dress, and you have to wear tights, and you have to wear shoes with a buckle on them.
Oh yeah, well ours. First of all, I went to church every week. That was not optional. I had to really be sick, like throwing up sick.
Oh,
there had
no.
to be visible evidence that I was sick, and not just making something up in order to not go to church. So I think I remember not going to church when I was a kid, maybe twice.
Did you feel
ever.
guilty the whole time?
Probably the one time. I think I was able to fake my way through enough being sick.
Ferris Bueller style.
Yes, and then one I was actually throwing up, and so I knew I didn't have to go that week. But everybody was supposed to wear suits, or all the guys were supposed to wear suits
Every Sunday.
every
Wow.
Sunday. So then, and women dressed up too. But then Easter was a different level of that.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did you wear suits, but men would wear hats and women would wear hats. Like women wear these big Easter hats.
Definitely saw women with hats. I don't remember guys wearing like special fedoras. Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
Interesting. Indoors, or would they take them off?
Well, I don't know. They probably took them off indoors.
Okay.
But
Sounds very Mad Men.
almost like straw hats. Not like Mad Men. More like
hats.
Southern debutante. Colonel Sanders.
I can't picture that. That's so funny.
So the Easter suit would be like a white suit. So you wear a
Yes.
white suit instead of like your normal church suit, which would be blue or black or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that as a kid at all. Anyway, I didn't like. Our daughter's 5. Probably when I was about 5 or 6, kindergarten age. My parents had been dressing me up in these extravagant little boy suits, where a vest and a bow tie and everything.
You're like Tattoo on Fantasy
I
Island.
did. I looked like that. And so they would then drop me off in Sunday school and kids' church. And so when you were real little, you didn't go to the adult service. You had your own church group. That you'd had Sunday school, but that would just last the entire church group. Mm-hmm. And so what would happen was I would start to get itchy, or I don't like this.
You're tugging at the tie.
I take the tie off first, and then I take the jacket off, then I take the vest off, then I would so I had the button-down shirt that was over an white undershirt.
Oh my
So
goodness, so many layers for
I
this
take the
kid.
button shirt off. I'd leave the undershirt on. I take my shoes off because those were uncomfortable. The
Right.
little, patent leather dress shoes.
You're Andy Dufresne by the end of Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, I do. And I've because I'm trying to tunnel out of Sunday school at 5 years old. And they would put all of that stuff. The teachers would put that stuff in a bag and then hand it to my parents at the end of every week. So at some point they go, all right, we're just not going to make him dress up. So I didn't have to, throughout my younger days, elementary school days, even have to dress up. They let me wear a football jersey or whatever I wanted to wear. And a
Just
sweatpants.
keep him clothed this time.
Yeah, just whatever. We're not going to make him do this. And
That's so funny.
Yeah.
The way you felt about that uniform is how I felt about my brownie uniform. I was in brownies and then Girl Scouts briefly, and for brownies, we had to wear knee socks, and you're talking about their suit. I'm sure your suit felt boxy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, our uniform fabric was stiff. It felt stiff as a kid.
It looked like canvas almost that
Maybe
that
so.
the brownies were wearing.
It was tent
That's
material.
why they're called brownies, is because they just
all
took brown
brown.
canvas.
We had a vest, we had a skirt, we had a shirt that had buttons, and a beanie. This is the pièce de résistance, is the little felt hat with the little artist pokey beret top. So we had a beanie, and I don't know. I just wanted to come home and watch cartoons one day. So I came home from school, and I waited a whole hour or whatever till my mom got home, and I sat on my porch, and she goes, "What are you doing home?" She goes, "Why weren't you at your brownie meeting?" And I go, "I forgot I had it." And she looks at my outfit. I've got the beanie
You're
on.
wearing it.
Yeah. She's like, "You did not forget that you had it. You just didn't want to go." And I'm like,
No, I wasn't ever part of any of those things. So I didn't do Boy Scouts. There's something before Cub Scouts. I didn't do any of that. But I did have a beanie when I was a kid from a Sunday school thing or a vacation Bible school thing.
What?
There was this program called Whirly Birds.
Oh, okay.
And
so it had a propeller.
It had a little propeller on top. And I loved it.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like if you couldn't add more things to make me unpopular and nerdy as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I was
but you loved it, you said, right?
I did. Well, that's the reason I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it in public, and people are like, I look like somebody from the Little Rascals or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I could see
the tubby
that.
kid with the beanie and the whirly propeller thing on top.
All you're missing is a box of Cracker Jacks.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. I think it's funny that kids, before they are told that they're not cool, they decide whatever they think is interesting. Because, yeah, I see that a lot with, our daughter too, the things that she likes. And I'm like, you're not going to want me to remind you that you used to like this.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, that's not true. Quiet, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so sweet because they're just interested in what they're interested in.
Yeah, and I think that the advantage maybe unpopular kids have, like myself, the overweight kids, is that you're allowed to enjoy the things that you actually like a little bit longer than maybe kids that are trying to impress other kids. Because there was nothing I could do to impress kids. Like anything I tried just got turned right back on me as, that's nerdy, leave us alone, you're weird.
I want to see your face after they say that. Like, you're like, darn, I didn't
know.
get it this time.
Well, like an example of me trying to fit in was, and I don't know if I've told this story to you before, but when Home Alone came out in theaters, all the kids had seen it, and they're like, oh, they're talking about this scene, when he gets hit in the face with the paint can and gets this thing. And I said, yeah, and like this thing. And it was just from the commercial on television. So I don't remember what was in the commercial, but it was, kind of like, yeah, when he just screams like this. And they looked at me and they're like, have you seen the movie? And I go, no, but I saw the trailer. And they go, okay, well, we've seen it, so we're going to talk over here. And they kind of just move away from me.
You're like, how about when it says coming to a theater near you?
One kid at home.
Alone. In the world. Aw, sweet little Luke.
Yeah.
Well, those kids are dummies.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But they're trying to impress each other, I think. And especially as you go through childhood, when you are trying to impress others, I think kids will say, oh, I don't like that thing that they actually do like, in order to fit in.
Yeah.
So I
you didn't bother with that.
Well, I didn't have to at times, because it's like, I liked pro wrestling as a kid, and at some point that became nerdy to people, but what's it matter? It's me and the other nerds that like pro wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's very you today. Like, not just the pro wrestling part, but just you like what you like, and no one can convince you otherwise, and you won't hear of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a friend that I knew all the way back then, but we weren't friends as kids. We just happened to be at the same elementary school and rode the same bus. And he said he would tease me occasionally as we were adults, going, you used to play with Ninja Turtles in like 5th grade. And I'm like, I think it was 3rd grade, but also I might have had Ninja Turtles in 5th grade. I'm like 11 years old. You still play
with Ninja Turtles now. You just make sure our daughter's nearby so that she can enjoy it at the same time.
Whose toys are these? Mine or hers?
No, recently you did a gig on the road and you brought back a toy for her, and she goes, let's play with them, and you opened it up for her, and she goes, now get yours out, and you go, I like to leave mine in the packaging.
I don't open mine.
And she said, you said, I don't open mine. She goes, why not?
She goes, I think it would be more fun to open them. And I go, well, for some people it is.
Yeah.
Not for Daddy. He has a lot more fun when they are in the package.
And I think on a previous episode, you mentioned that you learned that at a young age. You would start to leave them preserved.
I know, probably 9 or 10 years old, I started to just leave my toys in the package and print them on walls and look at them.
Are you sure you don't have a Cadbury egg from 1986? Oh my goodness. Well, actually, our daughter's quite quirky, and I don't know if I've been able to convey that accurately, but I delight in how different and offbeat she can be. But it made me sad when I said, "You're such a cool kid," and she named 2 kids in class. I'm gonna change their names. She's like, Roger and Jonathan. She goes, Roger and Jonathan definitely do not think I am cool. She said it that way, and I was like, I don't know what that's about, but they're wrong. That's all I said was, I was like, well, they're wrong.
I know.
Sorry to tell you, I'm the cool authority. Boom. But I just thought, oh, I don't want her to ever feel like someone's making her feel uncool.
I know. I want to be able to teach her, like, look, you're so much smarter than those kids, and you have so many more options ahead of you than what they're going to have.
You don't want her to be like young Sheldon. I'm going to be doing your taxes, so you better be nice to me.
Yeah, something like that. I'm going to be your boss. So you're going to need a lawyer. Trust me. And it's going to be me.
Yeah, get on my good side now, my friends, because I have what it takes to complete the LSATs.
Yes.
I don't know about you. Honestly, she speaks at that level. She doesn't challenge people or like talk down to them unless it's me when she's trying to like tell me off. But but her vocab is so funny to me. I don't know. One of these days, I do have a little thing she said to me today. Now, this isn't going to blow your mind, but I do write down her quirky little sentences. So we're just walking. Actually, she's putting her shoes on. We're getting ready to leave for school. And she says, I often admire my shoes when they are new, but when they get old, I don't want to wear them as much. I'm like, it's some insight. And I'm like, yep, that's how old shoes work. Nobody wants them when they're not cool.
I know. It's like the child version of a Jack Handy quote. So,
she doesn't use contractions. She uses like really big words that I don't use. Like we have our Hoosier twang where we cut the G's off the end of our gerunds, if you will. So we're like, I'm thinking instead of I'm thinking. But she's all complete words because she's a sponge that absorbs everything new. I
know. That's even with the toy. Like, I think sometimes that she placates me with some of these things. So the toy that I got her was a little figure of Elektra from Daredevil, because it was when we were on the road this weekend, me and my opener, we were walking around a mall and I saw it and it was like $2, and I was like, you know what, I'll get this for her. It'll be fun. It's a cool little comic book character. It's a woman. She's kind of like a ninja. Maybe she'll like it. And she goes, oh, thanks. And she opened it, and immediately, after the whole discussion about not opening them, which I didn't care. She could open it. That's fine.
She's digging in.
She goes, okay. And then she kind of just holds it. And I go, do you like it, or is it kind of just okay? And she goes, it's just okay. And
didn't she ask about, since it's called Elektra, she goes, does it have electricity or something?
I know, does it have electrical powers or something like that? And I was like, well, not really, but you can make it that way if you want. And I'm like,
she was in the middle of doing a toy that the neighbors gave up called Snap Circuits, where it teaches you the basics of connecting electricity, and you can make a little buzzer sound. You can make a thing light up by flicking a switch once you've connected them all together to the battery pack. And I think she interrupted that game to go to your toy, and then she was like, well, I'm just going to keep playing with my real electric toy.
I'm going to go back to the electrical thing, which is good. I mean, I guess it's good that she enjoys the science experiment more than she likes the comic book character.
I wanted her to save that gift for her Easter basket, because I'm like, another toy. I'm about to give her toys in a week. But I think it's nice because you brought her something home from your trip away, and that can be your guys' thing. So that she doesn't expect that from me if I'm ever away. She did ask me this. She's like, what does Jesus have to do with Easter? Because I presented it to her, I think, basket first and bunny first and
she said
candy.
That if she had said that to my dad instead of me, he would have just had a heart attack and just fallen dead right there.
He would have said, why don't you know yet? But I thought, when it comes to concepts like scary movies or, I ease into it. So for when it comes to like the concept of Jesus dying and then coming back from the grave, I was like, okay, maybe you're ready to finally grasp this, or here's what you think of this. So I'm in the middle of talking about the resurrection, and she cuts me off and she goes, actually, I think it's about family. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't one of those things where she was like, can you teach me about this? It was more like, what do you think it is? Wrong. It's this, which is that's just what she does all the time now.
It's just a test to see.
Right.
Do you already know, or do I need to explain this to you?
Exactly. And if I didn't guess what she was already thinking, she'll explain it to me.
Yeah. I'm adult. Yeah.
I even, did you see me getting worked up about that when we were on our walk? We went on a little walk together on Sunday, and she goes, I saw, she goes, Mom, look at this. And it was one of those wrought iron gates that has the top part missing. And I said, oh, that's unusual that it's missing. I'm just trying to show her that I'm listening. And she goes, actually, it's not. Actually, I see a lot of them every day. And I said, will you stop contradicting everything I say? And then 2 seconds later, we see another one missing. And she goes, you see, that one's missing as well. It's actually quite common. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to stop talking.
She's an actually kid. Actually.
She's kid-splaining to me.
I know. Well, there's a reason those kids don't think you're cool.
Thanks for joining us today. If you had a great time, let us know on social. Follow Kid is in School on Twitter and The Kid is in School on Instagram. Subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Be sure to throw us one of those 5-star ratings and share with your friends. Oh, and do it quickly before the kid gets home.